A very warm welcome to everyone in the audience. During this very intense week, we've had a number of panel debates on this very stage. As you maybe can detect on my voice, yesterday it was gone. This one today is in collaboration with the Residence magazine. If you're not familiar with the magazine, you can pick one up here, and I put some out on the chairs as well. My name is Hanna Beatrice. I'm the editor-in-chief of the magazine. It's a glossy magazine, interiors magazine, with an extra focus on design and architecture. We focus strongly on very well-written stories, which you may not always find in interior magazines, but we also put equal focus on the photography. We don't use much press images. We try to shoot everything ourselves. So saying that photography is something very close at heart for us, and it's something that is discussed daily. And this is also very important topic today when we consume images quicker and more than ever before. And they are spread in no time at all. And what role does photography actually play in launching a new piece of furniture, for example, or attracting people to a stand for a furniture brand? Especially, I mean, if you've been around at the fair, you've seen more stands than ever before, collaborating with well-known and very, very good, excellent stylists, attracting new people to their stands. But before we start, I want my fantastic panel to introduce themselves. So we can start with you, Nathan.
Okay, so my name's Nathan Williams. I'm the founding editor and creative director of Kinfolk magazine, which is a lifestyle entertaining magazine that we publish out of the United States. And we've been doing it for the last 3 years.
My name is Persson Lagerberg, and I'm an interior stylist and writer who do a lot of editorial work and also some commercial work.
My name is Tomas Backman. I'm the founder of Fantastic Frank, a real estate agent in Stockholm and Berlin who focuses heavily on images.
And my name is Frida Ramstedt, and I run one of Sweden's most read interior design blogs. And I'm probably one of the most image-consuming groups or generations even. I publish new posts every day and focus a lot on my own photographies, but also on real estate agents, photographies and images from magazines as well.
Nathan, I want to start by directing a question to you. I've followed Kinfolk only for the last 1 year, but it's when you look at it, it's had an amazing success and an amazing spread internationally, being such a young magazine. I'm really curious about your background and a little bit why you decided to set up Kinfolk, and also how it has developed to not just being a magazine, but a cookbook and gatherings and what they are.
Okay, yeah, so my background is actually in business. So I studied international business and economics, and I worked very briefly in an investment banking firm, which is dramatically different from what I'm doing now. But throughout my school and throughout that work, I had a personal blog or website, and I was really interested in photography. So that was my creative hobby on the side of business that I actually think I was much more passionate about. That's what energized me and really made me enjoy myself. And so at a point 3 years ago, I just decided that that's what I was going to do. I was going to focus on the creative side and start the magazine. And it was really the personal blog and the network and the connections that I made through blogging that allowed me to jump into the magazine and start. And really contributed a lot to the quick growth, I think. So the approach from the beginning was that it was a community project. It wasn't just me typing on my laptop in a dark apartment. It was me working with a lot of different artists. So the first issue was about 60 different contributors, different photographers and stylists and writers, and everyone felt ownership of the project. They felt that Kinfolk was theirs as well. They were creating the magazine. And by doing that, as we launched, all of them were much more willing to talk about it on their own personal blogs and spread the word very organically, and so that we didn't need an investor, we didn't need to
Wow.
to really do any marketing because it just went organically through those networks.
But then it developed to include gatherings as well in various cities throughout the world.
Right, and the main reason for that is the magazine talks a lot about community and being friendly and sitting down and eating with like-minded people. And after about 6 months, we realized we're talking about it, encouraging it through the magazine, but just kind of sitting in our office and typing about it, and we weren't actually doing it. So we started every month doing community gatherings, which are either workshops, which can be flower arranging or baking together, as well as just big dinners with 20 to 50 people sitting around the table getting to know each other. And as of this year, it's got up to about an average of 20 events every month. So by the end of this year, it'll be 200 gatherings that we've hosted a year.
We've actually written about one of them in our magazine.
Thank you.
But you have something like 200,000 followers on Instagram, and that you can communicate directly to. And this is in 2.5, almost 3 years time, and without any aggressive advertising campaigns whatsoever. I mean, what role has photography played in all this?
I honestly think photography has been central to it. We've done surveys for our readership, and we found that close to 80% of them work within the creative industry. So they're either photographers, they're designers, editors, stylists, and that type of crowd cares a lot about how things look. They care about the images, and so we're very thoughtful about that, carefully editing each image that we include in the magazine, but that also carries out to Facebook and Instagram, being careful with every photo that we post. That creative crowd is sensitive enough that I think if we posted one photo on Facebook that just looked awful, a high percentage would probably unfollow immediately, because that's just offensive to them, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm the same way. I think that that branding, such a big part of it is finding a way to connect with your consumers that resonates with them and makes them feel that your brand or your product would fit easily within their lifestyle. And so when I'm looking at somebody's work, or even if I'm looking at their Instagram feed, I can immediately see by the photos if their photos fit within my lifestyle, if I appreciate their photos, or if their photos would fit in my Instagram feed. And so similarly, we're thinking of that and trying to make sure that everything we put out fits within our readerships, at least how they perceive their lifestyle.
But you said from the first issue you had 60 contributors, but you still today, I mean, we have stylists contacting us saying, yeah, the Kinfolk style photography, this has become a term people use. But you had so many contributors, and you still got it down to this kind of photography. So you must have been very communicative about.
Yeah, and I think there's a natural vetting process too. I mean, like I was just saying, if we properly brand ourselves and properly represent that with the images, then those types of photographers and those types of stylists, that's what resonates with them, and that's the type that usually is reaching out. I mean, not all, obviously, so there is a lot of vetting that we do afterwards to make sure that there's a good match. But even from the first issue, we had a very detailed idea of how we wanted the magazine to look, what type of photography we wanted to use as well. And so we have, I mean, with the creative briefs that we send out, we have very detailed style guides on how we think the images should be shot. And I mean, a lot of that is, encouraging the photographers to use natural light. We tend to gravitate to photographers that are able to create images that have a calming effect, that don't have much busyness going on in the photos. And it's even as detailed as us specifying to the photographer that we want a lot of dead negative space in the photos. We like a lot of symmetry, so the subjects in the photos are usually in the middle with a lot of dead space above and around them. And those types of guidelines are just very easy for readers to digest. It's easy on the eyes. It's kind of a calming experience to go through seeing photos like that.
Frida, tell us a bit about your field, doing one of Sweden's most well-read interior blogs. How important is the great image to you, and what role does it play in your everyday work?
Well, I think it has changed a lot during the last 2 or 3 years, that people use images to build their own brand, and we pin and we blog about images that represents what we want to be, or what we're striving to be, or the kind of life we would love to have, even though we're working a lot and not living by it. And for me as a blogger, I've seen that great pictures can be used to spread the word about my blog as well. So I've put more and more energy in the photos, and I work a lot with to have the great capture. But there is much more saturation in the images, and I don't have the guidance or the guideline as you have. Since I have to post every day, I have to keep up with the feed as well. So I cannot be that picky about what I put there.
But you have also different readers, perhaps.
Of course, yeah. I don't think my readers are just as similar as yours are. I have a wide group of readers, from product designers to consumers, who see trends from different perspectives as well.
But how do you pick what images? I mean, you must be so many people and companies send you images every day that they want you to publish. How do you pick? Is it just your own gut feeling?
Yeah, I think it's since I'm the only one running it too. It's easier to have the gut feeling as my guidance, and it's hard to define what makes a good picture. But I think it's when it speaks to not only the eye but the heart as well, and I feel that I can stand up for it. I think that it's similar to my values.
Emma, you actually don't work that much for us. You work for a magazine that is in the same publishing house as us, Elle. But the last year or year and a half, the images that you've been a part of creating, they've traveled very fast, and everyone has talked about you. How has that, I mean, because you're not from a stylist background either,
No.
how has that influenced your work? I mean, what do you think is that people are so attracted to?
I don't think it actually influenced the way I work. I just work the way I always did. I go from picture to picture, and I try to make the best possible pictures. But of course, it's good for me in a way that it gives me a lot more work. I mean, people know of me in a way that they didn't do before, which is good. But I can't really. It's hard to say what makes a good picture. It's like Frida said. It's just a gut feeling. I can't.
So you don't have any guidelines when you create?
And I don't feel like I'm building a brand. I just do what I do best, and I make nice pictures. And I never have a plan from the beginning. It depends on what products the customer wants to show, and in what environment we are, like what location we find, and it's just.
But do you have many other stylists contacting you, wanted to assist you, or have you been surprised by the response that your images have got?
Yes, I have. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
But mostly we did a story about my own home that was published in Elite a couple of years ago, and I still get maybe 3 emails a week about the color of my kitchen, which was
I know quite a few people that has like color in their kitchen.
I think that surprised me the most, that story, and the influence. And I have mails coming from like Australia and the States and everywhere around the world. So it would be great fun to see all
these homes. Yeah. Tomas, tell me about Fantastic Frank and or the audience that maybe are not familiar with it. How do you differ from other real estate agents? And tell me a bit about the start. I mean, you started as with an interior blog.
Yeah, exactly. I could start with that. We started off exactly 4 years ago, actually, exactly, and it took us half a year to build the processes and the website and everything to run the business. So during that half year, I was blogging, and I blogged under the name Fantastic Frank, and I was very, very thorough with not saying who we were, not mentioning that we were going to become a real estate agent. So Fantastic Frank was just an interior design blog to get some sort of connection with the interior design audience, because that highway on the internet after sex and humor, sports and fashion, number 5 is interior design. There's so many people searching for that on Google every day. for inspiration. And we wanted to tap into that. And being a real estate agent, you just don't have the credibility of having good taste or producing. I mean, that is true, of course, and it's true throughout the world. No real estate agent is taking care of their properties that they sell in a way that they should, in a way that interior design magazines are doing. So we wanted to do small editorials for each apartment. So we started off building the brand just by being a design blog. Then after half a year, when we kicked off with our first apartments, we produced the same images that we had shared before, but those were from other people. Now we produced them ourselves. And it got a good spin from the very start. And we revealed that we were actually real estate agents. But having the name that we chose, Fantastic Frank, and those images, people immediately understood that we were different. So, and the aim is, I mean, of course, to make the homes look more of like the editorial homes do in the magazines. We work with creating attraction. That's what we say. We believe that an attractive image will sell the apartment better, or at least get more people to come to the open house.
But in the beginning, you did quite a few PR shoots, which traveled everywhere.
We just did one or two or three.
Three, I think.
But they got so much attention. But actually, before we did any of those PR stylings, we did what we still do. So often we shoot the bedrooms with unmade beds. And the unmade beds,
which is on the cover of
unmade
the
beds
magazine.
were the first images that shot through the roof, that really made us kind of famous because it was so different from what other estate agents did. And an unmade bed can look so inviting if it's done right. So please look on the cover of the magazine, because that's our image. And that's a typical Fantastic Frank image. And then we did some PR stylings as well. And we still do, but in a different way.
Yeah, you're more subdued now.
Yeah, we had a rock band at one time who did a gig during a shooting in a living room. It was fun.
But were you surprised yourself? I mean, knowing, of course, how well images travel, were you surprised at the enormous spread those images got?
Both. We knew that we were doing something that no one else was doing. I mean, we had our reason to be here is that we still believe that in order to sell, you should make a proper, decent presentation of the home that you're selling. And no one else has really gone through the effort to do that. We have so few followers in this real estate business still. Some of the high-end brokers who charge ridiculous amount of money to sell a small castle, they still shoot that small castle with, they might shoot them themselves, or just with a photographer and no stylist, no styling.
But today you work with, I mean, you've straight away you started to work with stylists actually, and you have an in-house stylist helping you.
Yeah, well,
and
we
a
had to,
photographer.
because what we want to do is to perfect sales and to have a great sell. I'm the marketing guy and the founder, and to do a great sell, I have to do some great marketing, and I can only do great marketing if I get amazing images. And the photographer, he can't do his job if he doesn't get help from a stylist who gives him the proper, interesting angles, because sometimes an apartment can look so boring, and with just a few hours of work, say 5 hours of interior styling work, that apartment for a photographer could be so much more easy to work in, find the right angle, find the right lighting. So. Yeah.
But talking about readers, just who is your audience? I mean, who sells through you, buys through you? I mean, you mentioned 80% work in the creative field for Kinfolk.
Yeah, well, of course, in Stockholm, we're a big city phenomena. We can only exist in a big city, I think, where people are a bit anxious about their homes. They're not sure of if they have the right things at home, because in Sweden, I don't know how many here are not from Sweden, but in Sweden, we present our homes when we sell it with our own stuff in it. For example, in Germany, you move out first and then you sell. So you sell an empty flat we sell it empty in Sweden also, but you present it empty. And in Sweden, showing off everything that you have at home, it's kind of, people get nervous. So we help them there, and we show them the homes in a way that they can be proud of them. That's how it works in Stockholm. People are so anxious. Anxious people in Stockholm is our market.
Oh, that's your marketing target.
And of course, a lot of people who works in media and advertising, because they understand the power of the image. Really. We cut down on words. We don't want our brokers to write that it's a fantastic apartment. We want them to write it's an apartment, and the image will say it's fantastic. I mean, it's, that's simple.
How, if we look at how this consuming of images have changed within the last couple of years, is it something that you can feel as well? Would Kinfolk have got this spread 5 years ago as quick, or what do you think?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think as an independent publisher, it would have been much more difficult. A lot of that organic marketing is through Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, and I mean, just kind of, there seems like there's this mentality that when Kinfolk arrives in the mail, like you have to put it on your coffee table with a latte and like take a shot from above and share that, and that has helped us immensely. I mean, like I said, we couldn't afford advertising or marketing or spreading the word in other ways, and so it has been very helpful. But with that, I mean, with that image-hungry readership, it does put a lot of pressure on us to be putting a lot of images out there. And so, I mean, like I said, a creative readership is on Pinterest, and they're following blogs, and they're getting a lot of content regularly. And so as a quarterly magazine publishing every 3 months, that's just not enough. And we get a lot of feedback that they just want more. And I'm sure that it's the same for each of us. It's a balancing act of deciding how much we need to edit and how much we need to send out, because the truth is we publish one image with a story, but we maybe have 150 outtakes that we didn't run. And so it's tempting, if the readership's asking for more and we just have them in this folder on our computers, why not just share them? But by sharing them, it diminishes the value.
Can I add something? Am I here? Well, and a big reason for your success is because people feel that your images are made with passion. You can actually, I mean, you see that. And it's ad-free. Since you don't have any advertising in your magazine, it means that the reason why you're there is because you're passionate about what you're showing. And I think that the reader feels that immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Ad-free is must have been one of your big keys.
Yeah.
We have advertisers. We're very passionate about what we do, though. Frida, how do you feel it's changed within the last? I mean, you mentioned it before. You can feel the change, but has it affected what you put on? Does the companies try to send more styled photos to you? I mean, has it changed?
Well, it's changed in many ways. One of the big changes is that there are so many blogs right now using the same pictures that they pick from Pinterest and Instagram. So taking your own shots has become more and more important for bloggers in order to keep their own style and voice. But yes, there's a lot of companies realizing the potential of getting their image published. So they try to send me images that I 2 or 3 years ago had to ask or beg to get. And sometimes they even want to give exclusive rights, and you can get this before everyone else, and they use a lot of nice techniques to make you feel pampered. But it's a balancing act as well. I want to show news and I want to show new products, but I do not want to feel like a commercial feed with just companies' images. So I try to take more and more pictures by myself.
I had a meeting yesterday with an agent for a furniture brand, and he said, I was just visiting Fantastic Frank. Today, furniture companies and brands, they are attracted to you because they want to collaborate with you and be seen in your estate agent photos. Yeah. That for sure must be a new development. I mean, and very Swedish, I guess.
Very Swedish.
Well, I don't think it's that common. I don't know, but
Well, I suppose so. Yeah. When
or
we
very
started-
fantastic Frank.
When we
sorry.
started 3 years ago, we went to the furniture stores to ask if we could borrow small things, and they were very hesitant. They were not sure who we were, etc. And now they contact us and they want us to show their stuff in our apartments. And this is great for us, of course, and it's very easy. But there's a development coming here that I don't know if it's a point that we're going to discuss later, but might as well raise it now. And that's the tagging with the e-commerce linking going directly to the website. of
Say
the
again, I didn't
furnishing-
understand.
The furnishing companies often have a website, and they would love to have a link going directly from the furniture with a tag on it, right? And this is something that I know that the bloggers, they get questions about a lot, because it's a kind of new technique, which is really easy. You tag the sofa, and you press the sofa, and you go directly to the web
You
shop.
come straight to the other
Yeah.
site.
And this is something it's going to destroy, I think, some of the credibility for the bloggers, and it has to be rebuilt. There's going to be like something's going to happen here, because I know that you guys say no a lot when you get this question. That's at least what I have heard from
But
other
you don't
bloggers.
say no. You're developing it as more of a business.
We haven't chosen our path yet. We are luckily in a different position than you are, because we come from sales. So it's all about expectations. When people come to us and see our images, they know that we're from a sales perspective. These guys really have to show credibility in choosing and showing their good taste. Maybe it could work for us to link to furnishing shops, but we haven't decided how to do that yet. But it's a question we get a lot.
But saying the image has the power it has today, what do you think a kind of average product could get very, very good media attention just by having a great stylist during the shoot and get a fairly good success, more so than a great product not having a great photo? What do you think?
I don't think so in the long run. I think maybe it can kickstart a career, or a company or a designer can get a lot of attention from the beginning because they have good pictures. But in the end, you still need a really good product. I
That
mean,
sounds comforting.
yeah. I don't think a picture makes a good share. Like really good design makes a good share. And then of course it helps if you want to be seen, and it's a lot easier for a designer maybe or a company to spread their work globally really fast, because you don't have to travel around with your actual chair.
Yeah.
You can have the pictures spread all over the world, but we still need good design in the end. I mean, I think.
What do you think, Frida?
Well, I agree with the design perspective, but by the amount of emails I get when something has been published on Fantastic Frank or in the magazine, I get loads of email, like what's the color code for Emma's kitchen? I get those emails too. Or how do I get the brass table from Residence magazine in Malmö? I know for a fact that it affects us, and people will buy those products if the image is good and if it talks to our heart and it works as a guidance, because people are very anxious. And when they see that Emma has chosen this color, they want to have the same, because it's comforting that someone they trust have chosen it. Yeah. And therefore I think the image is very powerful. But if it wasn't a nice color, then it wouldn't work. So it's a combination of the two.
What do you think, Nathan?
I mean, I think for the designer, the brand, the way that they represent themselves through the images and the stylists that they use, it is actually quite crucial. And the consistency of that between each campaign, each catalog that they put together, every blog post, the accumulation of those representations is a big deal. But as far as selling an individual product, I mean, the most talented photographer can't sell an awful design unless they're really good at photoshopping, which then becomes unethical. And so yeah, between the two, it is important, but only to a degree.
But so what's your advice if you're about to start a brand today? Is it to focus very hard on the photography from the very start? So
I think understanding the importance, and so anyone starting a company, if they're doing their research, understands the market that they're targeting. So if they understand that they're targeting the readers of either of these sites or your magazine, they'll understand the type of images that those readers are attracted to. They can easily find the photographers, stylists that are working on it, and they should cater to that instead of doing something else.
And also, building a new furniture brand, you need to understand, you need to develop your own story and be pretty clear about who you are. Because I think that the whole e-commerce thing that's going to undermine the blogger community, that will put a pressure on furniture companies to have a strong story, have a strong brand, because otherwise it will just be watered down in this sales, and everyone can be a blogger, everyone can be a journalist now, and having a strong story is important. Yeah.
You're about to launch your next issue, which has a focus on the home, which I'm very excited to see. Were you influenced by other stylists or magazines, or have you managed to transfer the Kinfolk image to the home?
Yeah, I mean, the issue it'll have the similar aesthetic to the past issues, but we've added kind of a section to the back, extended the magazine that has home tours, and so going through different people's homes. And we were very intentional to make sure that was international. It's not just homes in San Francisco and New York, but there's homes in Europe, from Japan, Australia, Canada, United States. And so, I mean, I'll admit that it's a very specific type of home. It's the Kinfolk home that we would consider.
But Gamfratesi, the guest of honor, is in there as well?
I don't think they're actually in there. We talked to them, but there's other Danish designers. There's an interview series with an architect, an interior designer, a lighting designer. But that was an interesting experience for us, just going through that and talking about what is a Kinfolk home, what makes that, what's the look that we want to represent through the issue. And a lot of that was tied back to the philosophy of Kinfolk, which is relationships, the people that we spend our time with, family, friends, gathering around a table. And so we looked for homes that were clearly designed for that purpose, homes that were hospitable, that walking in you immediately felt comfortable, that had gathering spaces and tables to meet around, that type of design.
But judging by all the fans you have, you must be contacted daily by so many people wanting to collaborate, or, for example, in this case, show their houses. How do you choose internationally when you get all these emails?
We do get a lot of submissions from photographers and other artists, and we keep a certain ratio with each issue where it's returning contributors, which is about 85%, and then we have a smaller percentage where we're experimenting with new photographers and designers. And it's just a lot of sifting through submissions, looking through portfolios, and like I mentioned earlier, immediately when I visit somebody's website, I can tell if that person is kind of from the same tribe or like within the same crowd. Similar to, if I was really into Gothic styles, I would recognize someone of my tribe by their dark dyed hair and their dark makeup. I can see that in a website, in a stylist's work, and so it's a no-brainer. It's very quick. Visiting someone's portfolio, I can tell if they fit within the Kinfolk aesthetic, and it's even quicker to tell if they clearly don't. So.
But if we established how important the image is, how do you see this, and also the stylist and the photographer, how do you see these roles develop? Or will it come new business strategies or power structures? How important will brands get stylists of their own that only collaborate with them? I mean, if you walk around here today, there's a few stylists that work with many brands. Will this kind of knowledge spread? What do you think?
If the knowledge, Well, first, it might not be a shift in power structure, but it's like the cake is bigger in the bakery. Everyone will get a larger chunk of the cake, which means that you will appreciate the interior stylist's work a lot more. Also, is another person that you can influence if you're a furniture company. And that is what they are doing. We had a meeting just this fall with a very big furnishing chain in Germany who said that the store is dead. And the store is dead, the furnishing store, the exhibition room is dead, and they will not open any more stores. They will continue to develop themselves online, and they are developing their own technique for selling through blogs. And I suppose that they are reclaiming some of that power then that the bloggers have now, because it's not just the interior stylists, it is the bloggers who in the end spread the images. So the bloggers are now really high up in the hierarchy, and the furnishing companies having a strong story, using the new technique that is coming, they will reclaim the power and start selling like never before, closing down the really expensive stores that they have today.
But can you feel a difference in, I don't know if I want to use the hierarchy, but the new, I mean, how the power of the stylist, how you are treated and how early you come into the project?
Definitely. I think when I started working, which is now maybe 7 years ago, it was already beginning to change, but it was still, the stylist was seen as someone helping the photographer to create the picture. The photographer was the star. I mean, and nowadays, when I start working with a new brand, I usually come into the process a lot earlier. So, and before the photographer most of the time, to help create guidelines for what kind of pictures you want to make or how you want to.
So it's also you maybe to choose the photographer as well, or
sometimes yes, more often. But I mean, it's still a teamwork. You can't. There's no use in having a really good stylist if you don't have a good photographer, and vice versa. But I think it makes better pictures if the stylists come into the process earlier. I think.
If we look a bit ahead, we had a very interesting discussion this morning. You said when you founded Kinfolk, correct me if I'm wrong, it was never ever just going to be a magazine, but you were going into other businesses. Do you want to tell us a bit about how you see this develop within the next 2 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, in starting a magazine without advertising, we were self-aware enough to know that that wasn't going to be entirely sustainable over the years, and the plan, was to just explore other types of business that would fit within a lifestyle brand where a magazine could live comfortably. And so this year in April, we're launching a clothing and product line in Japan, which will then launch in the US in August, and it's really a natural extension of the magazine. The magazine, like I said, is focused on entertaining and what we feel matters most, the people, traditions, relationships. And so similar with clothing and with the clothing company, what we're doing is distilling it down to what we feel is most important. And for us, that's qualities like comfort, utility, and making sure that it's an enduring classic style. So that's been very exciting for us, and a lot of work, more than we expected. But I mean, like you mentioned, kind of new business models that might come with this image-driven industry. I think it's really exciting, and I think that there are a lot of opportunities that will be popping up as consumers are more interested in really demanding a quality of images. Any sort of niche or market that's neglecting to keep up with that becomes an opportunity. And so even as I hear Tomas talking about Fantastic Frank, that's the type of work that is absolutely, it's an untouched industry in the United States. I mean, real estate agents photograph homes looking at their worst, and it's horrible. So if I imagined doing something like you in California or in New York or any area like that, it's an opportunity that's just waiting to be tapped into. I also think of companies like Airbnb, which is the online home rental service. They went into a market that was just completely falling behind in that. The other competitors were VRBO or HomeAway, websites like that, where it's very tiny images of homes that the owners take themselves on their point and shoots, and it's just not marketable at all. So Airbnb probably saw that as an opportunity, stepped in. They send professional photographers to normal people's homes to take photographs and use a very large grid so that all the images look beautiful, and that's worked for them. So it's exciting to think of, other areas where companies are failing.
But can you feel where you live that it's many people are seeing this entrepreneurial points of view and starting and trying out new businesses, and not just the big successful ones like Airbnb that have succeeded? Because I think it's a lot of you have an entrepreneurial side in the States compared to Europe, the business side.
No, I think definitely. Even just the bakery around the corner from us in Portland, I sense that they feel the pressure to keep up as well, and they have brought in a photographer to take photos, and they have their website, and I mean, almost any designer or small business I know now has a short video on their about page that shows them, at the sewing machine and talking about what they're doing, because other people are doing that. And if you don't have beautiful photographs of yourself working, or or a video showing your work, then you're falling behind. So, I mean, there's kind of it's a bit superficial. It's not going to sell designs that are lousy, but there's a momentum there that I think everyone feels they need to keep up with.
Yeah. And how do you see Fantastic Frank develop? I mean, you opened in Berlin, which is entirely new market where they have totally different strategy of selling houses, but you're also thinking further.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at Paris, Barcelona, or X for next year. So we're going to do a benchmark city and then choose between Barcelona and Paris, and keep opening it up in big cities for our real estate business. But we are also during this year going to think hard about how to tap into e-commerce.
And
there's a lot to do.
What
there
are you
also
leaning to? So is it, and with e-commerce, you mean that you tap what you explained earlier, tap on the picture and then go straight to the store? There's a lot to do there also
to create luscious images online to sell the furniture. And there's so many small furnishing designers that you could represent in a nice setting such as ours, and help them to reach out, and that is global instantly. So
but you also have something called Frank's Friends.
That's just kind of our PR thing. We collaborate with famous or not famous people that inspires us. It could be a singer or an architect or a stylist or something, and we let them put their things in an apartment, and we shoot them and kind of brand ourselves together with them every second month or so, just to make a little extra buzz.
Listening to all this, it sounds like stylists and photographers going to have so much work within the next couple of years.
Yes.
Seems like a very good job to tap into. Can you feel this demand that more people, this pressure of companies contacting you? And
I mean, that's what I want them to do, because that's what puts the bacon on the table in my family. So I think it's good. I think it's good, and I think it makes my job more interesting if I have more creative, is trusted with more creative responsibility in the work that I do. So that's only a positive thing. If the companies put more trust in the stylist and are forced to put more trust in the stylist, that's a good thing for me, I think.
Frida, how do you think this image-led culture will continue to develop?
Well, we're talking about new business opportunities, but I think I do not agree that the blog era will die, or that we will commerce our feed. But what I can see is that, as I'm from the advertorial background, I can see that people or companies are putting money from traditional media spending to the images, and I can see like stylists and photographers get more money and more
instead
power
of advertising in print media,
exactly, or TV or such.
Exactly.
So your magazine will be what's dying if no one's willing to do advertising.
No.
It's doing very well at the moment, but let's hope we keep it that way. Continue, sorry.
No, that's just. I don't want to think that bloggers will be over commercial, because magazines have managed to handle the pressure the same pressure we have today. Did you manage a few years ago? So, but I definitely think there's new business opportunities coming up in terms of making images and styling, not just by real stylists, but by people like me who are studied business and economics, and so did you as well. And I think we're all like a living proof of the fact that the traditional yrkesgrupp in Swedish are changing, that people are experimenting and trying new things and developing their creative side.
Of course, you're not going to tell us your future secrets, but can you say anything of how you're going to develop your site or your work?
Well, one of the main things I have to look into is translating my blog into English, because today I have 136,000 unique visitors each month, but it's only Swedish people. So there's a big market for me if I try to translate it to English. But it's also a lot of work, and I want it to be perfect the day when I actually do that. So that's my main thing to work with.
Mentioning this new line of clothes, when you did the images for this, working with models and so on, how hard was it to translate this feeling of Kinfolk, also in products and photo-wise?
It has been a bit tricky, and it's kind of a different ballgame with the stylist too. It's working with wardrobe stylists, and the way that we're launching it is a sub-brand off of Kinfolk, so it's not Kinfolk clothing, and so it's okay if there's a slight shift, but at the same time, we've had to be very detailed with style guides, so detailed we have a PDF on model expressions, and there's one that's red that says no fierce, no blue steel, no, and photographs of all the models looking, modelly, and then a green page that says we want them to look welcoming and friendly and normal, and it's just very tricky to get it so that it feels the way that we want it to. But
so the clothes are not actually going to have a brand saying Kinfolk, or?
No. So the sub brand is Our, OUUR.
Okay.
So it's Our by Kinfolk.
And then the next step after that is that furnishing.
I don't know about that. Give me 20 years.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Well, it's gone so fast, so far.
We'll see. It's definitely something that we would be interested in.
But the people working in your office, being very good at all these things that you just described, you're 12?
Yeah,
right?
There's 12 of us.
What backgrounds do you have apart from you?
It's quite diverse. So we do have designers that are experienced in graphic design. We have art directors that have background in photography themselves, so they understand the industry. And then the other half of our team is more of the business side, so accounting, marketing, working on accounts, that stuff.
We're going to have to finish off very soon, but I just wanted to each one of you to bring up something you find being the most interesting in terms of your field or a business concerning images that you've been keeping your eyes on. Do you want to start, Tomas?
I think I already said it a few times what I think is most interesting with the e-commerce. So I'll bring up something else that's also technical, and that's the high-res screens that are popping up everywhere now. 4K in television sets and retina displays in mobile devices. And that puts a lot of pressure on the photographer and as well, I assume, the stylist, because now you can start zooming around in one image and look at styling in the background. So even higher quality images is going to be, the lowest standard that you have to reach.
It's interesting.
It is.
What do you think, Anna?
I think maybe magazines like Kinfolk's, where you have almost like a physical feeling of slowing things down, which apparently you don't, 'cause you're moving really fast, but you get the feeling when you read the magazine and your books that
we're
you get it like
deceitful,
a
yeah. We hide it.
calm feeling. You need something calm to rest your eyes on when everything is moving so fast, I think.
What do you think, Frida?
Well, I think that we will see a lot more emotion pictures, like the lifestyle pictures, even in blogs. For a few years, there's been a lot of product focusing and new furnitures and styled images, but I think we will see more and more people on the blog images as well. That the bloggers want to share their emotions and their feelings, and as much as they want to share their style.
And over to you.
And I'm excited to see how the images actually progress technically. So I mean, visiting Fantastic Frank, you use some interesting GIFs and cinemagraphs, which is something new. We can only get to a certain point with still images, and then we're going to want to move on to something else. And so, seeing those photographs that have the details that are moving, it's a lot of work, but we'll probably be seeing more and more of that. And I guess, I mean, in summary, I hope that with that shift and with the focus on better images, I do hope that the actual substance and subject of the images remains the focus. Because it would be a shame if the stylists all take over and hide the beautiful products in the foreground. We've had some people comment to me that, you know, Kinfolk's such a beautiful magazine. It's beauty for beauty's sake. And I said, okay, that's a nice compliment. And then I go away and feel like I'm insulted because I hope it's not just beauty for beauty's sake. I want it to be, you know, beauty with a purpose, or beauty that's actually sharing a meaningful message.
Yeah, I absolutely don't want to end on a negative note, but I realized we never spoke about like the bad side effects. Is there any bad side effects of this image-led culture? Is there anything bad coming out of it that we should be aware of within the next couple of years? Starting with you, Frida.
Well, I would say the pressure it puts on us to have a perfect life. I get a lot of emails from readers that are anxious that their homes are not perfect enough, or how can I get that look that everyone in the magazine seems to have the perfect home? It's always clean, it's always perfect, and they always have nice parties with lots of people. And I think we have to work with that, being aware of that. These images are made up. Like we know that models in fashion magazines are.
Yeah,
we know that they've been going through Photoshop, but we're not aware of that when it comes to interior design.
I can only agree. That must be one of the worst side effects, that you actually get the pressure of having that perfect home. What we do in our Instagram feed is that we mix the ready images with the behind-the-scene images, where you can actually see the more trashy apartment. So we try to help you out a little bit there, show that this is normal.
I just read Dave Eggers' latest book, The Circle, which paints a pretty scary picture of the society, the social network society. So maybe this thing that we were talking about, everybody feel the pressure to show up a perfect picture of their life and their home, and that's a scary development.
I definitely agree. I mean, if there's a progression with the imagery, I hope that the progression with the product design is actually going with it, which I'm sure it will, because you know, the beautiful image selling the product, it lasts for. That's a 5-second experience before you click the button and purchase it, but the actual chair or sofa is going to be in your living room for 10 or 15 years. So that's obviously the more important experience for us to be focusing on.
Me coming from a magazine, I just want to ask a final last question to you. Do you think to run a magazine today, you have to do all these other things that you are branching out to? Gatherings and
not if you have good advertising that pays the bills. But I do think that it is an advantage if you're doing in-person events, if you're really engaging with your readership. I think there'll be a shift in that direction, and the magazines that fail to do it will not be around in 5 or 10 years.
But haven't people contacted you trying to advertise with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think the fact that there is no advertising, that is a signal to potential advertisers that we're not into it.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to have had this fantastic panel here today and this very, very nice audience. I'm sure if any of you have any questions, you can just come up here afterwards. Thank you so much. A big applause to the panel.